The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army. And now, ladies and gentlemen,
You're now about to witness the truth.
It's the Benjamin Dixon Show.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Benjamin Dixon Show. I am your host, Benjamin Dixon. It is Thursday, August 4th, 2016. Today is the 55th birthday of President Barack Hussein Obama. Give him applause, ladies and gentlemen. Love him, like him, hate him. Today is a great day for the president. And I'll tell you, you got to celebrate the little things, man. You have to celebrate. If you don't celebrate the little things, you'll be forever frustrated because you're waiting on celebrating something big. And some of the little things that President Obama has to celebrate today, besides turning 55, is his daughter, Sasha Obama, got a job. And apparently it's a big deal. So we'll talk about Sasha Obama's job. Also, a couple of things that President Obama has to celebrate today that I'm sure he probably isn't celebrating as hard as we are. He probably didn't even acknowledge that it happened. But today he is Dylann Roof and George Zimmerman. Today I'm giving myself a pass to be petty as hell. But George Zimmerman and Dylann Roof both got mollywopped today. So happy birthday to you. When President Obama found out. Oh, hush. We're not going anywhere. One too many buttons. When President Obama found out, he didn't celebrate. I celebrated. It's a good day. All right, so we're talking about that. Then also, moving on, I have to tell you about, I'm going to do a special episode of all the things you don't want to hear. I'm going to talk about some things that I think about on a regular basis that you probably, a lot of you may not want to hear. Now, some of you probably think about these things too, but as progressives, there's some things that we have to have a come to Jesus moment about some things that we want to hear. No, don't let your alarms go off. No, I'm not going to try to tell you to vote for Hillary Clinton. That's like everyone's number one fear. You're not going to tell us to vote for Hillary Clinton, are you? No. Have I ever done that? No. Am I going to do that? No. But there's still plenty of things that we need to talk about. Some of them were evident in the questions that I posed to Dr. Jill Stein on Twitter today. I had a series of questions that I want some legitimate answers on, that I think we as progressives and people who support her and those considering supporting her should be able to get some solid, concrete answers on. Because one of the first things I'm going to tell you that's going to disappoint or that you don't want to hear is that we as progressives are just as guilty of liking to hear people say things that we want to hear them say. Like we like it when people hit all the check marks. You know, you support this? Yes. Do you oppose this? Yes. Do you support that? Yes. Do you oppose this? Yes. Do you oppose drones? Yes. Do you oppose bombing brown babies overseas? Yes. Do you oppose neoliberalism? Yes. Do you oppose, and we hear all these things and we're like, yes, 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 yes. But did we actually dig down and ask the question of how they're going to get those things done in the middle of a system that's designed to perpetuate those things? So we're going to talk about that a little bit. I also want to thank, before we get rolling too far, I want to thank my patrons, newest patrons that came through overnight. Thanks so much to John E. Thank you so much for your pledge. Hank J. Hank is a part of the Progressive Army. Thanks, Hank, for your pledge. Love it. Appreciate it. And Sarah S. Sarah, I see you, Sarah. I see you came to support the Benjamin Dixon Show, and I really appreciate each and every one of you. I appreciate those that watch. I can't do it without you. I started this show for me because it was a kind of a cathartic. It was kind of therapeutic for me to be able to say all the stuff that's been sitting in my head. And I know I started it for me because when I started, it was just me talking with no one listening, not even on Twitter, like no one even listening to what I had to say there. And then it started slowly and surely becoming that the show was just as important to a lot of you as it is to me. So it became about us. So I'm glad to have you guys on board and glad to be able to be saying things that you appreciate. And you know what I appreciate more than anything else? I appreciate those who can disagree with me on something or several somethings and still be a supporter. Because we cannot have absolutism. We're not going to agree on everything. I have some Hillary Clinton supporters who listen to me on a regular basis. They have to be some of the strongest people in the world. I swear to God, they have to be some of the strongest people in the world. Then I have some conservatives that listen to me on a regular basis that email me and we debate, but they listen to the show. Thank you for tuning in. I have a lot of progressives, and even with the progressives, there's some things that we just disagree on. And some of those things are things that I'm going to point out tonight. We may believe in the same principles, but disagree on the reality of some of them and the effectiveness of others. So we're going to talk about that. And of course, the lines are open, 857-600-0518. But yeah, man. So let's talk about, I guess we'll deal with it seriously. All right, let's deal with it seriously first. Dylann Roof. He is, if you follow the news and haven't been living underneath a brick or a rock somewhere, Dylann Roof is the confessed killer of the I believe 9 parishioners of Mother Emanuel Baptist Church in the Carolinas. He has not stood trial yet, and he is in custody, being held until he's being held underneath protective custody within the prison that he's being held in. And so he has a protective guard that follows him everywhere. A guard when he goes to the shower. His cell is always locked for his protection, because for sure some of the people in prison know some of the people who were killed and went to that church. And so they have to protect him, because otherwise he probably would be dead already. Well, it turns out that they turned their back for a fleeting moment. Why is this not working? Oh, there we go. The police officers turned their back for a moment, and there you have it. Gave an opportunity for another inmate to run down the stairs into Dylann Roof's cell and just straight mollywopped him. I mean, bruises on his face, bruises on his back. No weapon was used, and so there you go. He's still alive. They're not pressing charges. So Dylann Roof got beat down today, and no, I don't condone violence, but I'm not going to condemn this whatsoever. Not at all. All things considered, maybe that's why they're not going to press charges, because all things considered, it could have been significantly worse in that very short window. Let's talk about the other guy. I think this other guy, it's going to sound weird, but when I tell you the story, you'll understand why this cretin is one that I despise. This is one person that I would love to just have a few minutes with, just a few minutes, just to talk, literally just to talk to him. George Zimmerman went into a diner today, and the story is actually kind of funny, because we would hope that he got knocked out by a black parishioner, not parishioner, but by a black patron. But the reality of it is George Zimmerman went up to someone who was dining there, and the report describes the gentleman as a big white man who mistook George Zimmerman for someone else, and allegedly referred to George Zimmerman as a N-word lover. So before George Zimmerman got accosted, he approached this man to tell him that he liked his tattoos, according to George Zimmerman's story. But according to other people in the restaurant, George Zimmerman introduced himself to the diner, to the person who was eating dinner, as, "Don't you know me? I'm George Zimmerman, the guy who killed Trayvon Martin." Apparently, the man eating dinner was drunk. The man eating dinner was white. The man eating dinner was racist, and he was so drunk that he did not understand what George Zimmerman was saying, and apparently turned around and hit George Zimmerman.
You got knocked the fuck out.
So not only did he get knocked the hell out, but he got knocked the hell out by a racist. So it's almost like a twofer. It's a 2-for-1 special. A racist is going to get arrested for assault more than likely, and the person he assaulted was a racist. And the reason the racist assaulted the racist was because he was too drunk to realize that this is probably a guy that you would normally be in league with. So dumb hit dumber, and the result is a very happy birthday for President Obama. Yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
The payback's a motherfucker, ain't it? Nigga.
I'm sorry, y'all. It is, like I said, you gotta celebrate the little things. You gotta celebrate the little things. And I absolutely, with George Zimmerman, I have absolutely no qualm, no hesitation to celebrate someone who will run around bragging, and let me cut my camera back on, going around bragging about killing a teenager and selling his gun at an auction for $250,000. I would not hesitate for 1 second to laugh in that son of someone's face every time he gets hit, every time he gets arrested, every time something goes wrong in his life. I'm actually, I don't wish ill on anybody probably but George Zimmerman. I hope he does not pay his taxes on the $250,000 he got for selling that gun, so the IRS can just stay on his ass for the rest of his life. I mean, I hope every single day a person like George Zimmerman has to hide and cower in fear, because anyone who thinks that it's a prize and a trophy to run around and say that I am the person who killed Trayvon Martin deserves to live in perpetual fear the rest of his life. And you know he's a small man with a big ego and a big fear complex. He's a small Napoleon complex, man. So you know that one thing he's avoiding today is he's probably not on Twitter, because everybody around the world is celebrating the fact that George Zimmerman got knocked. What?
You got knocked the fuck out, man.
And all of this on President Obama's birthday. This is by far the blackest day of the year. This is the most Afrocentric day of the year. Not for any distinguished reason, not for any intellectual and any great insight, no great insight, nothing philosophical, nothing deep, other than the fact that two of the greatest villains in recent black history both got their asses handed to them, both on the first black president's birthday. It doesn't mean anything in the bigger scheme of things, but it does mean it's a very black day.
Black, y'all, and I'm black, y'all, and I'm blacker than black, and I'm black, y'all.
Anyway, all right, caller, you're live on the air. Caller, you're live on the air. What is your name, comment, and or question?
Hey, Scotty.
Scotty, what's going on, man? What's on your mind?
Not much. I guess the song of the day is "Today Was a Good Day," huh?
That's the only song I didn't download. I was looking for Ice Cube. Today was a good day. That's the only one I didn't get to before the show, man. Other than that, what's going on, man? What's on your mind?
No, I noticed that you were talking about how progressives were, frustrating you with the fact that you were talking about Donald Trump, and that doesn't necessarily mean they're saying support Hillary.
Right.
I think what it is that people are just tired of being told by mainstream media and even some sectors of left media that you have to fear Donald Trump just to, and in a way, it is, for them, it's subtle of saying you have to vote for Hillary. And I understand that. I get that. I think that that's a little bit overplayed at some points, but I get it. I think it's just that a lot of people have seen, it feels like the left in certain sectors has betrayed people. So when when you have a candidate like Donald Trump being like propped up by the media, and they're just ashamed by that fact, which we all should be. And then you have Hillary Clinton, like you have people like Joan Walsh, the "We Are the Left" hashtag.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are just on, and what happened with the DNC, a lot of people are just on edge.
Yep.
So any criticism of, I don't know if you want to call them lefty heroes, but it just feels like everybody's just, they're in their corners right now, and they're pretty defensive of what happened.
Yep. Good segue, man. Good segue, and I appreciate you bringing me there because I'm still on, I'm still on President Obama's birthday. All right. I'm back. Let's talk about some serious stuff. Okay, so I'm getting all kind of flags tonight, man. YouTube this stream probably will be cut off before the end of the night because I'm sampling everything tonight because it's like I said. But okay, so to progressives, man, I'm not gonna let y'all. Thanks for the call, man. Let me clear up the lines for everyone else. So I get it, and this is one of the things I want to talk about, right? I get the fact that you don't want, or you are tired of the mainstream media talking about Donald Trump and making him out to be something to be afraid. I get it. The problem is I don't watch mainstream media. So I watch it, I sample it off the internet just to know what the hell is going on, right? And then I read the newspaper, which is a mainstream media, but I can pick the articles that I read, right? One of the problems is that the mainstream media empowered Donald Trump early on by not ridiculing him efficiently and sufficiently about the things and entertaining him. So he is a creation of the media. Now, if you're going to be mad at the media, I would be mad at me personally. I am mad at the media for not doing back in June of last year what they're doing now, right? Because not only because Donald Trump is dangerous, but because they have allowed a buffoon, by not doing their job, they allowed a buffoon to get the head of a ticket of one of the two major parties, and now we can't even discuss substantive policy disagreements, right? We can't discuss it because we have to talk about someone who literally jokes about, or not jokes about, but doesn't understand the reason we should not use nuclear weapons. So I'm upset because we can't talk about policy because one of the two major party candidates is a buffoon. Now, here's the other side of that token, that coin, though. We cannot. No, I'm sorry. You can do whatever you want to do. I, Benjamin P. Dixon, BPD, will not stare into the abyss of what Donald Trump represents and continue to close my ears and close my eyes and just say, la, 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 la. I am not going to pay any attention to what Donald Trump represents, because if I do, then that might somehow support Hillary Clinton inadvertently, right? I've seen people go down a list of things to justify not talking about Donald Trump because of fear of supporting Hillary Clinton. And if you don't, again, let me not say you, let me say me. It is completely irresponsible for us not to address those things. And so, and I was talking to, who was this on Twitter? Somebody else was on Twitter, was like, yeah, but we're just so tired. If you've been watching my show any amount of time, you know I have covered international relations issues and topics more than I've talked about Donald Trump. Actually, let me back up a little. And because you guys know me, you should know me by now. Whatever I decide to cover on my show, I'm going to cover on my show. That's number one. All right. So that's the context by which we should examine the rest of this conversation. Right. As much as the show is for me and as much as the show is for you, I am here. I'm the one that's getting up at 6 a.m. and going to bed at 11. And if there's an issue that I feel is important enough to bring to you on this platform, then I would hope that you would understand my integrity and my commitment enough to not just say, oh, you're just like mainstream media. No, woosah, woosah, woosah. Because I sacrifice so much for you as well as me. All right, so that's the first thing. Number two, it would be incredibly irresponsible for me as a person who my master's degree is in international security. And my PhD is I'm almost finished. I'm all but dissertation, right? I'm almost done with it. It's in international security. So I understand the ramifications of what this man has been saying. And not many people in mainstream media are dissecting it from the real problems that it would cause. They're telling you you should be afraid of Donald Trump, but nobody is explaining why it's actually problematic. Nobody that I've come across. All they're going to say is he's an idiot. Yeah, we know he's an idiot. They're going to say he's a buffoon. Yeah, we know he's a buffoon. They're going to say he's dangerous. Yeah, we know he's dangerous. But specifically, why is he dangerous? He is dangerous because he is casually dismissing the importance of treaties that are the very foundation of the international security through which this entire post-World War II exists. So the very mention of the two things that he mentioned with regards to NATO and with regards to nuclear weapons, those are destabilizing statements. And it would be irresponsible for me to look into the abyss of Donald Trump and just say, I'm never going to cover it because it might inadvertently support Hillary Clinton. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. Oh, I thought I had that sample in here. I was getting ready to play the sample. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this. But I get it. But maybe the solution is you guys need to turn off mainstream media. If they're covering nothing but Donald Trump all day long, and you come to me frustrated about them covering Donald Trump, maybe the solution is to cut off mainstream media. That's the solution. Caller, you're live on the air. What's your name? But today is President Obama's birthday. Dylann Roof and George Zimmerman got their heads split. So can't nothing hold me down today. Nothing's going to make me mad today. Caller, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question?
Hi, my name is Steve. Thanks for taking my call.
Steve, what's on your mind, man?
So I'm a Bernie supporter.
What up? What up? I am too. What's up?
So I'm a Bernie supporter. I'm going to vote for Hillary. And I've called in before, and I know we've disagreed on things before. Mm-hmm. But you had a guest on a few months ago, and he said something that really stuck with me. I don't remember his name. We were talking about boycotting and divesting from Israel.
Yeah.
And at the end of the
Professor Matt Sikowitz, probably.
Yeah, it was a great segment. And at the end, you invited him on for more debates. Mm-hmm. But he replied to you saying he was only interested in dialogue and not debate. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was such a great point that it helped me reframe conversations I have with people as like dialogue and not debate, and not trying to prove I was right or wrong about something. Mm-hmm. And I think sometimes even as progressives, we try and get to this level of purity with having debates with people we only agree with. And I don't want us to be like conservatives where we surround ourselves with a bubble that only supports our own viewpoints.
Yeah.
And so I would even say that Bernie himself has done a good job of being about that kind of dialogue, and that's someone we can look to. And even if I disagree with certain things, or I may not vote for Jill Stein, or you might vote for Jill Stein, or whatever, I think the dialogue that we can have with one another is
absolutely, man,
very valuable. And I really liked what he said.
Absolutely, man. Thanks so much for that little tidbit. I appreciate it, actually, because that's one of the other things. Thank you so much for that. That's actually one of the other things that I wanted to say that is probably not something that you want to hear. A lot of people don't want to hear. Check this out. Me, right? I'm not going to tell you what to do, because one of the things that bothers me the most is when people tell me what to do. So I'm not going to tell you what you should do, right? The surefire way to end a friendship with Benjamin Dixon is to come and say, Ben, you need to do this and you need to do that. Well, unless your ass is out here helping me build this show, unless you are a major contributor or a contributor at all, unless you are waking up at 5 a.m. with me and going to bed at 11 o'clock with me, you do not get to tell me what to do. And because I don't like people telling me what to do, I'm not going to force my opinion on you. And I'm not going to tell you what you need to do. But what Ben Dixon does, I am not going to be so deliriously upset with President Obama that I can't wish him a happy birthday. Or I can't wish him a happy birthday without a caveat saying, well, I wish you would, happy birthday, President Obama, but I sure wish you wouldn't drone people in the Middle East. I'm not going to do that. You know why? Because life is too short to be that damn bitter. And yes, it is an issue that is worth being upset about. It's an issue that we should address. It's an issue that we should organize with, but it is not all the issues in the world. It is not something for us to be so consumed with that we cannot dialogue with people and have a human relationship with people and dehumanize someone. Like it's not something to if I saw, it's not something to make people your enemy. And the bad news is you cannot get anything done in this world unless you are willing to go to war with that individual if you view everyone as an enemy. And for us to be some pacifist-leaning people, we sure view a lot of people as enemies. But what the hell are you going to do when it's time to get something done, sit down at the negotiation table, and you can't even have a conversation with them because you're still mad at them because they haven't broken up capitalism yet? You're still mad at them because they haven't torn down the oligarchy yet. And you just sitting there mad like, I can't believe I'm sitting here at the damn negotiating table, but you can't work with people because the only thing consuming your mind is the fact that they took corporate donors for their election. And you let it immobilize you. You let it paralyze you to the point where you can't even say good morning to somebody you disagree with. So if you can't say good morning to somebody you disagree with, you can't say happy birthday to somebody you disagree with, you can't say congratulations to somebody you disagree with, how in the bloody hell are you going to sit down and find some ground for you to actually get something accomplished? You can't. So yes, that's bad news. If you view everyone that you disagree with as an enemy, you are useless to actually getting work done. All right. Caller, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and or question?
Oh, hey, man, it's Bryce.
Hey, Bryce, what's going on, man? What's on your mind?
Doing good. I do agree with what you just said because, I have disagreements of Obama on some things too myself, and there's some things I think he definitely could have done better, but I think that he's been, a solid president on all levels, and I think that, he deserves to be, I was like, we shouldn't be bitter, especially, in his birthday. And also, not to mention that he just freed up another 200 people from the drug situation, and it's supposed to be, it might jump up, it's supposed to jump up to 10,000 by the end of his term. So that's good too. So don't get me wrong, I got my disagreements and my issues too, but I think that it can be put on hold for a day. Yeah. And it's been pros and cons through it all. So I definitely agree with that. And I did see your old title, because Sasha got a job. Yep. Yep. George and Dylann Roof got beat up. It's been a beautiful day. Beautiful day.
It's a good day for President Obama, man. Thanks so much for the call, man. 857-600-0518. It's been a hilarious day in the midst of a lot of bad stuff, right? I mean, bad stuff is happening all around us all day, man. And that's all we talk about. And I'm tired tonight. We can't talk about like the video of the 5-year-old boy, Corinne Gaines' son, who witnessed his mother get. He described it as hurt. I couldn't watch the video. I wasn't going to do that to myself because there's too much that we're fighting against. It's too much. It's just, yeah, man, I can't. 857-600-0518. The other news today. News worth mentioning is Sasha Obama. Let me put her picture on the screen for you guys. You guys know Sasha Obama. She has a job. I saw somewhere they said it was a week-long job. Someone else said it's a summer job. But either way it goes, Sasha Obama has a job at a fish shack. It's described as a fish shack in Martha's Vineyard. And, you know, hey, even the president's daughter has to work. And these are the type of people, you normally see this in conservatism, right? But I'm starting to see it in some progressive circles. So Sasha Obama got a job. And so this dude on Twitter says someone who really needs a job could get it instead of Sasha Obama. The only thing she needs is PR. And I'm like, really? Bruh, really? That's your approach? That's what you're going to do? That's what you want to say? I mean, can we, can they not set an example that, you know, even if you're wealthy, that you should have some experience in your life? Black people understand this. You know, one thing your black grandparents always said is no matter how rich you get, you make sure your kids understand a good day, a hard day's work. That's how my granddaddy used to talk. No matter how much money you make, Ben, make sure your kids understand a good day's work, an honest day's work. Can we not, you know, it's really that simple. Let the girl get a job, let her experience. But, you know, hey, she's an Obama. So if she's an Obama, we absolutely have to find something wrong with what she's done, because there's absolutely nothing good that can actually be done by the Obamas, according to conservatives and even some progressives. Caller, you're live on the air. I'm telling you everything you don't want to know tonight. What's your name, comment, and or question?
Hey, this is Q from VA.
Q from VA. What's going on, man?
What's going on, brother? I had called you probably a couple weeks ago after the whole Aldi thing happened, and I just wanted to call up real quick, man, because I'm concerned, man. I'm gonna make this as quick as possible, but I'm disgusted with how this election, and I'm almost thankful that this election has showed us the fundamental difference in the black left. And we're seeing now that there are those who live it and there are those who just fake the funk. Now, if I can give you a quick example, what you spoke on yesterday, Corin Gaines, just the bare facts. All we know is that police came in. This is from the police push. The police came in, they shot, she shot back, she was killed, her son was hit. She had a legal license to carry that weapon in Baltimore.
Yep.
But the people who spend all day retweeting Asada Shakur and, you know, have the Malcolm X peeking through the window with the AK as their Abby, those are the first people to say, she was a lunatic. She put her son in danger. We don't know what happened. And to me, that's so frustrating because you're exposing you're exposing your entire facade that you put up. So everything that Asata says to you, everything that you read, and everything that you're retweeting and putting out there on Twitter is for show. And just to see black women shitting on Corin Gaines, that disgusted me to no end, because y'all want to preach this feminism stuff, but when it's time to stand behind you, your fallen sister, she's a lunatic, she was unstable. I just want you to speak on that real quick, because I just want to know if I'm going crazy or are people really exposing themselves out here, man?
Well, I'll tell you, this is one of the things that most people don't want to hear. I do think that she was unstable, but I do agree with you that the level of pushback coming from the black community towards her, but like the Hotep community, man, and the Asada Shakur, you know, I'm like, y'all, you know less about this situation than the Blue Lives and All Lives Matter folks do, and you're doing their job for them, right? They're the ones who are going to, you know, kind of try to find everything they possibly can to make every black person killed by the police out to be some type of villain. Now, I disagree with with Corinne on one fundamental fact: the fact that her son was still in there. That I mean, because just me, right? Me as a dad, the first thing I'm gonna do is make sure my kid is taking cover, right? I don't care if I've decided that it's going down, my kid is going to be out of that house. I would say, here, take my son, y'all take him out of here, and then we're going to get it on. That's where I disagree with her on. I also think that she was suffering from something Now, the question is, what is that something? What triggered that paranoia, right? What triggered that fear? What triggered that? Was it something that happened to her and it was a mental situation? Or was it real? Were the police officers after her and harassing her on a regular basis? We don't know those answers. So I actually don't have much commentary in terms of her, except for the fact that it's a shame that she's dead. And two, it's a shame that her son had to be there and see it. And the fact that I wish
That's
that she
exactly my point.
Exactly. Yeah, that we could leave. And the
Ben,
fact
it's
is,
just that
we can leave it
people are-
there. Yeah, go for it.
People are jumping to one side and they want to go to their corners. There are those who will say, "Oh no, she's a mother of the movement. She's a liberation," And then there are those who, "Oh, she was in the wrong everywhere." The thing is, and the black community, what we have to understand is, we have to stay on code. When white shooters or when mass murderers do something, they don't say anything. They say, "Well, I have to see all the facts." When Michael Brown got murdered, well, we have to see all the facts.
Yep.
Meanwhile, the so-called black left is jumping out the window. She was in the wrong. Everything she did was wrong. Nope,
Yep.
wouldn't have did that. And it's just like, can we see the facts first?
Yep. Only other thing, thanks for the call, man. Only other thing I disagree with you on, or I want to make a distinction. That's not necessarily the black left. There are some people who claim to be on the black left that do fall in that. So let me start there. But the majority that I've seen online, that I've seen on all social media, that people have made comments on the videos and whatnot. I mean, 90% of what we're talking about is the social media sphere, right? The majority of them have been like black nationalists, hoteps, that crowd, which are uniquely different than the black left. They intersect with the black left in a couple of places, but they wouldn't identify themselves as progressives for damn sure. So thanks for the call, man. 857-600-0518 is the number to join the conversation. Couple of other things that I want to talk about here. Let's talk about Jill Stein, particularly the questions that I asked her today. And the reason I asked these questions was, one, because I've already said it. I'll say it again. I'm voting for Jill Stein. All right. Because I have too many things that I disagree with Hillary Clinton on. And I'm in a safe state, so I can afford to vote my conscience and not worry about it. It's a safe state. So I'm voting for Jill Stein. And if I get polled, I'm going to tell them I'm voting for Jill Stein, because more importantly than trying to get Jill Stein to win is to get Jill Stein and Gary Johnson on that debate stage. We need 4 candidates on that debate stage. And the reason we need them on the debate stage is because we need them to answer some questions and tell us, particularly Jill Stein, if she's going to be the beneficiary of all of the progressive votes, if she's going to be the beneficiary of all the black left and all the black radical class, then we need to hear some answers on some particular questions, specifically on the issues that divide us from the regular Democrats, the corporate wing of the Democratic Party. Because, I thought about it, and do I have that clip? Let me see if I still have that clip in here, because it's worth pulling up for this context. Shuggity shiggity. No, I don't think I have a clip. So you guys have to go to my Twitter timeline or go to my Periscope and look at the interview that I did with her. Actually, it's on YouTube. There's an interview that I did with her, or if, I got a question in. It's one question while she was marching in the protest. And I asked her why she should be, get the African-American vote. And she went down a litany of things, and every one of them, boom, sound good. She's going to oppose white supremacy. Boom. We're going to tear down the inequity in the communities, and boom, we're going to address the systemic problems of X, Y, and Z. Boom. She said, I'm going to support reparations. Boom. Check, 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 check. Damn it. It made me feel good. Jill Stein, everybody. And the problem is we cannot be satisfied with someone just saying they're going to do A through Z just because we agree 100% A through Z. The next question we have to ask is, how are you going to get it done? And more importantly, how are you going to get it done when you cannot do it in isolation? You cannot do it by yourself. You cannot do it with the help of Congress. So one of the questions I asked Jill Stein is how are you going to enact reparations or pass reparations with an intransigent Congress? How are you going to do it if you can't get the support of Congress? Because otherwise, if she doesn't have an answer to that question, then she's just telling us what we want to hear. No matter how much she really believes it, if it's not something that she has a plan to get done, then it's just telling us something that we want to hear. And how then are we any better for accepting Jill Stein for saying things that we want to hear than all of the Hillary Clinton supporters who accept Hillary Clinton for saying the things that they want to hear? I don't understand why they want to hear it, but there's stuff that they want to hear. So they just accept Hillary Clinton, and we're just as bad as Donald Trump supporters who just accept Donald Trump for whatever he says. I don't understand why they support what he says, but they do. They love it and they eat it up. So if we're going to set this standard, we really have to ask the harder questions of how are you going to get it done? Here's the next question that I really want answered from Jill Stein, right? You know, one of the biggest complaints about President Obama is his incessant drone usage. Droning in general, but the quote unquote accidental droning and killing of civilians, and more specifically, children who have been killed by this Obama administration and their policy on drones. Here's the question. If you oppose droning and you're for ending droning, we have to ask the question, under what scenario could you order a drone strike? Because if somebody answers that question and say, under no circumstances will they ever order a drone strike, it's not very likely that they have thought this thing through all the way. Because there is, and this ultimately leads to the comment that I don't think we want to hear or we don't want to dissect at a meaningful level. The reality of it is there is a tension, there is a conflict between our national interest and our progressivism. Because at a certain point, yes, we can stop droning so much. Yes, we need to be more accurate with our droning. Yes, we need to make sure that we're not killing civilians, all those things. But if we're going to say that we're going to not drone at all, then we got to answer all of those national security questions that arise. Because one of your jobs as the President of the United States is to protect, defend the Constitution, as well as the citizens and the national security, the security of our nation. And you cannot tell me that no matter how progressive you are, if you're sitting in the briefing room, in the situation room, and they're telling you that this cell of ISIS is directly responsible, or they are planning an attack on U.S. soil and that they are prepared to execute it, and we have only one opportunity, Mr. President, Madam President, to take them out, and we need to use drones. If you tell me that you will not strike at that moment, then I tell you, you're not ready to be the President of the United States. Now, you can give all the caveats. You can say you need more information. You need guarantees. You need assurances. You need percentage chance of it being civilians versus the percentage chance that it's absolutely ISIS. You can fill all the caveats in the world in the room. I am on board with that. But you cannot tell me that under no circumstances would you ever use drones or military force. Because here's the other bad news. We don't live in a world where we can not use some measure of military force. Does this mean, Ben, that you support empire abroad? Does this mean that you support the military industrial complex? Does this mean that you support imperialism and militarism and support neoconservative hawkish foreign policies? No. And if you come to me with a false equivalency, or you come to me with a false dichotomy, then I'm liable to clap back real quick. Because it is not a black and white binary switch. Because unless you're saying to us progressives, and I'm talking to my progressives brothers and sisters tonight, if you're saying to us that you feel that we can have the security that we need to exist without the constant threat of death, without military force, then I would tell you, you don't know how the world works. Is America a bad actor in most of our interactions in the international community? Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. No, I'll be the first one to tell you that. Yeah, absolutely. Are there plenty of other bad actors who would ravage the United States if we just did away with the military or cut the military by 90%? Abso-damn-lutely. And to think otherwise is either not thinking it through or it is wishful thinking. So the question has to be asked of a progressive candidate. Under what circumstances would you use military force, and under what circumstances would you use droning? And we need some really good answers, because the answer can't be to continue the same paradigm, but the answer also cannot be we're not going to ever use it ever. Other question that we have to ask our progressive candidates is, how are they going to specifically end oligarchy? Because it is a word, and not only oligarchy, but neoliberalism. Those are two catchphrases that we use every damn day. And I've yet to hear a concrete plan of how, from Bernie Sanders either, on how we are going to end structural oligarchy, because you're getting our votes based on the fact that you oppose oligarchy. Yet, how are we going to end and dismantle oligarchy? And more specifically, how are you going to get it done within the framework of the office of the presidency, when the office of the presidency has been designed to serve the oligarchy? I feel my help tonight. I feel like I need somebody to say amen out there, because that's the real question, right? How are you going to dismantle the military industrial complex and create a military force that's strong enough to keep and maintain our security without expanding empire, when the office of the presidency has been designed to serve empire and the military industrial complex? Because if you don't have a plan to fix these things within the context of the office of the presidency, then you are going to be eaten alive by the office of the presidency, just like Barack Obama was. You think Barack Obama, and this is what you reduce it down to. It's hot up in this mug. The lights are beaming. We reduce it down to so many times that President Obama is just a bad man. He's just immoral. He's not progressive, because if he was progressive, he wouldn't do these things. And he's evil. President Obama is a slave to the military industrial complex. President Obama is a slave to oligarchy, right? We reduce it down to that, instead of realizing that President Obama could have and probably did go into there with all of the best intentions, but did not understand the magnitude of forces, the behemoth-sized forces that compel the office of the presidency to conform and support and serve oligarchy and the military-industrial complex, capitalism, neoliberalism, and the expansion of empire abroad. Because if you reduce it down to just he's not a good man, then you're going to always be looking for somebody who's a good person, and then you're going to put in somebody else who is not prepared to confront the realities of the forces that compel the office of the presidency. So the question we must ask is, in this global system, all right, we already talked about the military industrial complex, but in this oligarchical system, right, this oligarchy that serves the top 1%, what are you possibly going to do in the framework of the presidency when the presidency has been designed to serve the top 1%? And when you're working with an intransigent Congress who are also there to serve the top 1%, what is your game plan? Because if you have your game plan and you have been able to think of one, you deserve my vote. You deserve me stomping, because you're a better man than me. You're a better woman than me. I can't think of how to accomplish it. So if you have that solution, I would wear your T-shirt on this show every single day for the next 100 days. Caller, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and/or question? Oh, I don't know what that is. Yeah, something's wrong with your line, my friend. I hate to do this to you, but I got to let you go. 857-600-0518. Check your line and call back. Yep. So, let's see if we got a clear line.
Hello?
Right. Yeah, caller, you're live on the air. What's your name, comment, and/or question?
Okay, my name is Isha, and I am a lawyer, so I just wanted to give you my legal opinion on drones that everyone misunderstands the subtlety. I'm sorry, even you. Mm-hmm. So I hope you don't mind.
No, sure.
You
just better make it good. Make it good. Go ahead.
Okay. So the main issue with drones is according to the Rome Convention, basically you declare war on a country when you use your military force into their borders.
Yep.
And the problem with drones is that it invades territories like sovereignty without the consent of the government. So you're basically declaring war each time you go and drone somebody. So that's the first issue with drones.
Okay, wait, let's take that issue, because actually we don't want to breeze past that, because there are actually conventions in international law that allow for us to infringe on a nation's sovereignty if they demonstrate that they are incapable or unwilling to address a threat. So this is the means through which America has gotten away with a lot of things based on international law. It's a book called Extrajudicial Killings. It's by what is his name? I can't think of his name, but it's published by Oxford. And in that book, they outline the case that it is in fact legal in international law to infringe on someone's sovereignty if they demonstrate that they are unwilling or incapable of removing a threat to your nation. Go ahead.
Are you talking about Just at Bellum?
Yes, that's the book.
That is not itself. Okay, that is that is not itself codified in international law, but it is a theory that the U.S. government uses to justify it, saying that would have been codified if. So it's not per se codified in international law, but we use that theory as like a self-defense. Because the idea is that you don't need UN approval if you need self-defense. Mm-hmm. So that is our excuse. But another issue with the drones is the excessive use of. Excessive death of civilians. It is better than carpet bombing, of course, but the ideal thing would be actually to have a soldier or like a robot go and shoot down that one targeted terrorist, as opposed to killing his grandma and great grandma and his 5 kids. So that is the second issue with regards to the drone program. Absolutely. And the third is that the Intercept has discovered that over 90% of them the intelligence is chatty. They use, if you lend your grandma your mobile phone and then they end up going and killing. So the main issue is with the drone strikes is, and then of course the other main issue that we've kind of skirted around is the way that this war is declared. When they declared the AUMF, they declared a war on all groups, persons, and organizations who helped carry out 9/11 and those groups that helped those groups. So ultimately, we do not know. We've bombed over 12 countries, and we do not know who we're at war because the enemy is so amorphous, and that's different from the traditional idea of war as having a concrete enemy and a battlefield. Mm-hmm. And so, because of these, I think that the drone question is loaded, but the more appropriate question would be, under what circumstances would you use military force? And I think another thing is that often we Americans forget that there's more ways, you can get intelligence without killing. So if we know of an ISIS plot or whatever, we can cooperate with other countries and pull those people out and imprison them. So I feel like we have a lack of creativity in the way we solve the problem by just going and bombing because it's available for us. So
definitely.
I just wanted to
Yeah. So the last two things, and actually it was I don't know. He's an Irish guy. Niles Melzer is the targeted killing in international law. That's the one I was referring to. But even though it is perhaps not codified, much of international law is based on norms, and that's one of the norms that have been used most certainly since 9/11. Right. So it is actually something that we use to justify it, but it's also something that's been recognized in the international community. That's one. The second thing I can't disagree with you on, and I wouldn't disagree with you on, the indiscriminate killing, the accidents and the mistakes is absolutely problematic, and something that we have to ask these candidates, how are you going to address that? Because are you simply not going to drone? Because is not droning really an option? Are you going to just do it better? And if you're going to do it better, how are you going to do it better? And then the third thing that you said is actually, I don't think you said it directly, but you kind of alluded to it. It separates the consequences from the action. And with war, with traditional war, we have the ability to say someone is putting their life on the line to go and commit an act of violence that we feel is so important that that we must put their life on the line. And so by separating them from the action and the consequences, it becomes a video game and people become removed from it, and we don't take as much consideration into it. Those last things I 100% agree with you on. And you are right. The most precise question would really be at what point would you violate the sovereignty of a nation in order to execute a target, right? That's an even more precise question. But for progressives really just want to know, how are we going? Are you going to drone? Are you going to stop droning? So we have to address it at multiple levels. But thank you for bringing that up, because I think it was a great conversation worth having.
Okay, well, have a great day then.
You too. Thanks so much for the call. 857-600-0518. Actually, shucks, we only have 2 minutes left. Did I cover everything? Sasha Obama, your boy, your dude's getting mollywopped, Obama's birthday. I think I covered it all. Folks, that's all I've got. Hang on. One more thing. Yeah. Okay. Do I actually have anything else to say? I want to quote, since this is the Blackest Day, I want to quote Petey Green before I go. I tell it to you the hot. I tell it to the cold. I tell it to the young and I tell it to the old. I don't want no laughing. I don't want no crying. And most of all, no signifying. You guys have a good night.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog, join the Progressive Army, and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. It's Ben Dixon! If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.
Consider becoming a Patreon. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday.